10 bone-chilling true ghost encounters from America's haunted highways that will haunt you forever. The highway stretched out like a long, dark ribbon unwinding into the night, where shadows danced just beyond the reach of flickering headlights, a path littered with secrets, the kind that make your heart race and your skin crawl. You see that? A driver pointed nervously, his voice barely a whisper as he gripped the steering wheel, so tight his knuckles turned white. It was a figure, half hidden in the roadside fog, wearing an outdated dress that flowed like water, leaving a chill in the air strong enough to freeze time itself. This was only the beginning of echoes from the past. Each mile traveled seemed to carry stories of loss and despair, tales of those who met untimely ends along these haunted stretches. Deep in the heart of Texas lies the infamous Highway 666, a name that rings like a death knell among locals. Drivers speak of an eerie presence that clings to the asphalt, whispering their names in the dead of night. Many claim to feel a hand on their shoulder, an icy grip that stirs an instinctual fear, sending them glancing nervously into the rearview mirror, convinced that something sinister is lurking behind them. Others have reported seeing old, dilapidated cars filled with ghostly passengers, a silent witness to the lives lost in tragic accidents, their eyes filled with sorrow as they fade into the fog. Then there's Route 60 in Missouri, where a young girl, forever lost, is said to hitchhike along the roadside, her spirit desperately searching for her home. She appears in worn-out jeans and a white tank top, a sight that strikes terror in those who spot her, because her face is shadowed and expressionless. She lingers beside cars as they slow down, only to vanish before anyone can offer her a ride. Every encounter leaves behind a lingering question: who was she, and why can't she find peace? As tales of these spectral sightings ripple through the towns, locals share their own breathless experiences, dark woods that seem to whisper your name when the wind picks up, flickering lanterns appearing on the horizon only to vanish like smoke when approached. Anxiety grips you when the sun sets for the final time, and a nervous thrill dances in the air. You never truly know who or what might be sharing the road with you in the dead of night. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the stories pile up, there's a palpable tension in the air that can't be ignored. The more they share, the more you feel that familiar tightness in your chest, the kind that says you're on the brink of learning something that might just shake your very understanding of reality. It's as if the whispers of the lost souls beckon you to dig deeper, daring you to confront whatever lies beyond the veil. Will you take the next haunted drive through America's roads, or will you heed the warnings? The road ahead may promise more than just ghosts. It could unveil the truth, or it could lead you to a fate that's already written. The night air thickened as they continued on Highway 666, each mile a step deeper into a world where reality blended with shadow. Sarah tightened her grip on the passenger seat, her heart pounding in rhythm with the low thrum of the engine. "Do you really believe in ghosts?" she asked Marcus, her voice barely above a whisper. Unsure if she wanted to know the answer, he glanced out the window, the darkness swallowing the distant glow of their taillights. "I don't, but this place, it's different. Feels like something's watching." He couldn't shake the sense that unseen eyes were trailing their car, hidden in the murky woods that flanked the highway, the shadows active and alive. Suddenly, the car radio flared to life, a burst of static crackling through the silence. Marcus tilted the knob, but the sound only grew louder, a cacophony of indistinguishable whispers. "What the hell is that?" Sarah's voice quivered. She hugged her knees to her chest. "I don't know. Just the radio messing up," he muttered, but doubt laced his words. He could feel the weight of the air pressing down on them, thick and oppressive, like a storm on the verge of breaking. A flash of white darted by the edge of the road, a figure not unlike the one from earlier, except this one appeared to be swirling, merging with the fog. "Did you see that?" Sarah gasped, her face as pale as the ghostly apparition that seemed to vanish as quickly as it had appeared. Maybe it was just a deer. Stop it, Marcus. That was not a deer. As they traveled further, the unease twisted into terror. Occasional glimpses of old cars on the side of the road sent involuntary shivers up Sarah's spine. Each vehicle sat still and lifeless, taunting her with the prospect of something sinister lurking within. The dim headlights illuminated broken glass and rusted frames, remnants of lives that had once thrived before becoming mere whispers in the air. Suddenly, Marcus slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching against the asphalt. What the girl stood right in front of them, framed by the car's headlights, her outfit reminiscent of another era, jeans tattered, and a white tank top stained with dirt. She looked lost, her eyes wide with desperation and filled with a haunting emptiness. "Help me," she mouthed, though no sound came out. The girl's presence isolated time and space, and the world around them blurred. Sarah's throat tightened, panic flooding her veins. She reached for the door handle, utterly compelled to assist the figure, but Marcus seized her wrist with a fierce grip. "Don't. We can't. It's not real." But his voice broke, a moment of doubt flickering across his face. The girl stepped closer, almost within reach, a hollow expression etched upon her face, yet the headlights flickered ominously. Then, as if a curtain had fallen, she simply vanished, leaving only a heavy silence that enveloped them like a shroud. "Did you see that?" Sarah's voice trembled, disbelief washing over her as she stared at Marcus, whose eyes had widened in horror. What was? Before she could finish her thought, the car sputtered and died, plunging them into a suffocating darkness. The sudden stillness felt unnatural, as if the world around them had held its breath. "Stay in the car," Marcus whispered, his voice barely above a murmur. He clambered out cautiously, casting nervous glances around the shadowed expanse. Shadows twisted and turned, both familiar and foreign, seemingly alive. Before he could reach the hood, a cold draft swept through the open door, sending shivers down both their spines. The whispers returned, louder now, circling them like vultures hungry for their next meal. Sarah's eyes darted to the woods, where she swore she could see figures, shifting faces perhaps, peering from the trees, hiding in the twilight. Each pulse of her heart resonated in her ears, deafening against the cacophony of ghostly murmurs. "Marcus, we have to get out of here." But he stood frozen, his gaze locked on the darkness beyond. It felt as if the very air was thick with dread, smothering their senses. Then, a soft voice floated through the night, chilling them to their core. "Stay a while, one to you?" With that, the chapter of their lives took a turn, entwined with forces of a past that refused to fade into the shadows. What lay ahead was uncertain, but the question loomed heavily: how far into the night would they venture before the truth became too dark to bear? The darkness swallowed the space around them, a thick shroud that pressed against their skin, its icy fingers creeping under Sarah's clothing. She could hardly breathe, every intake of air feeling heavier than the last. The whispers grew louder, wrapping like a twisted ribbon around her mind. "Marcus!" She cried out again, but it felt futile. Panic lunged in her chest, a frantic beast clawing for escape. "What do we do? We can't just sit here. Just give me a second," he murmured, his voice strained. He kept glancing toward the woods, and she could see him wrestling with something: fear, doubt, something darker. The engine's silence loomed over them like a heavy barbell ready to crash down. But then suddenly, the girl's echoing plea filled the air once more. It was softer now, almost a whisper, yet dripping in urgency. "Help me." Sarah froze, her heart clawing at her throat. "Did you hear that?" she gasped, searching Marcus's face for reassurance. "I don't know if we should." He stopped short. The crimson numbers on the dashboard flickered and faded. The moonlight that had once illuminated their surroundings was blanketed in a creeping fog. The world felt distorted, the trees bending like grotesque figures in a dance of despair. Feeling bold against the terror curling around her, Sarah unbuckled her seatbelt, the clink of the metal sounding like a gunshot in the dark. "We have to see what's going on. We can't leave her there." He turned fiercely, his eyes wide and bright with fear. "You don't understand. We don't know what's waiting out there." But Sarah had already pushed the door open, the motion sending a thrill of cold through her bones. As she stepped out, a gust of wind whipped past, pulling at her hair, seemingly alive. Sarah, Marcus called, panic sparking through his voice. Ignoring him, she staggered forward, drawn by the faint traces of the girl's presence. The glowing headlights rapidly faded behind her, and the world melted further into a haunting silence. In the distance, glimmers of light flickered in the deep woods, promising answers to questions unraveled by fear. "Help me," the voice echoed again, increasing urgency, like an echo of a long-lost memory that was both familiar and chilling. "Where are you?" Sarah called out, her voice cracking. "Please, I want to help you." Suddenly, she stumbled over something cold and hard, a stone marker half buried in the dirt. She knelt down, the damp earth seeping into her jeans, and wiped away the old dust with trembling fingers. What she uncovered sent chills twisting down her spine. It was a weathered gravestone, engraved with a name. Her breath hitched in her throat as she scanned the etching, struggling to process the words in the night's thick air. There were 3 faded letters, half erased but hauntingly familiar. L.A.R. A sudden crack erupted in the silence, a branch breaking in the woods, followed immediately by a flicker of shadow darting through the trees. Her heart raced as she jerked her head up, scanning the tree-line. "Marcus!" she shouted, but they were no longer alone. Figures began to materialize, emerging from the trees, their forms blurred and wispy, faces contorted by pain and longing. The whispers grew frantic, the air thick with their cries, drowning the night in despair. Marcus dashed from the car, eyes wide, desperately searching for Sarah. "What are those? Is that—" "They're here," she gasped, struggling to stand. "We need to," but before she could finish, the figures lunged closer, drifting through the air with unnatural speed. The scent of decay and despair washed over them, drowning out all thoughts of escape. "Help us!" they cried, voices melding into a haunting chorus. Fear gripped Sarah, and she bolted back toward the car, but the shadows closed in fast, blurring the line of reality. Marcus grabbed her wrist tightly, hauling her toward the car, as they both stumbled, hearts racing. "Go, now!" he yelled, urgency coursing through his voice. They dove into the vehicle and slammed the doors shut, the thunderous echo reverberating in the night. But the shadows surrounded them, pressing against the windows like fingers clawing to get inside. The whispers morphed into a single voice, stronger than before. "Stay a while, please." Wide-eyed with fear, Sarah and Marcus exchanged panicked glances. They were trapped. Marcus fumbled with the keys. Everything felt like it was happening in slow motion, each second stretching into eternity. The headlights flickered ominously, and for a moment, they both feared the car would die again, leaving them at the mercy of the shadows. The pulse of light erupted in the distance, piercing through the fog. It glowed with an ethereal softness, promising safety. But was it? "Should we try to make a run for it?" Sarah gasped, the tightness in her chest cranking up another notch. "It might be a trap," he replied, despair echoing in his tone. "But we can't stay here, not with them." Her mind reeled. Time was slipping. Would they remain and confront whatever lay ahead, or would they risk the unknown of the mysterious light? The question loomed as the shadows pressed tighter, deeper into their souls. What choice would they ultimately make? And if they stepped into the light, would they find salvation, or something far worse? "Look!" Sarah shouted, her voice rising above the chilling whispers. The light was getting brighter, illuminating the edges of the darkness clinging to them like a second skin. "We need to decide," Marcus replied, his tone frantic. "We're running out of time." The shadows seemed to pulse around them, a swirling mass of despair and longing. Sarah's heart thundered. She couldn't tell if it was the weight of dread or the flickering hope that surged with the light beckoning them forward. The figures outside melted back slightly, as if the light pushed them away, but they still hovered, their gnarled hands reaching toward the car's windows, trailing wisps of fog. "Marcus, we have to go," Sarah urged, adrenaline pumping. "This has to mean something." He hesitated, glancing at the figures, then back at her. "What if it's a trick? That could be our only chance," she insisted, voice breaking. "They're not leaving us alone." In that moment, the whispers crescendoed into a fevered pitch, a chaotic cacophony of pain and desperation. "Help us!" they cried out, their voices blending into one horrifyingly beautiful symphony. "Damn it, Sarah!" Marcus shouted, frustration breaking through his own fear. We can't just walk into the light like it's some fairy tale. But Sarah's decision crystallized in a single heartbeat. I won't let them take us. If that light is a way out, then we have to try. Now, before he could argue further, she flung the door open again, cold air rushing in like a tidal wave. The light pulsed like a living thing, almost vibrating with promise, urging them on. I swear, if we get swallowed by whatever that thing is, Marcus started, but Sarah was already sprinting towards the light, legs pumping with fear and resolve. Together, they darted forward, hope giving wings to their heavy hearts. The glowing aura began to envelop them, numbing their fear. Was this salvation? Or was it the trap Marcus feared? As they neared the light, it expanded around them, incandescent and warm, erasing the shadows that had haunted them. The figures outside shrieked, their cries raw and desperate as they were swallowed by the glow. Then it happened. The light pinched closed around their bodies like a forceful embrace, and in an instant, they were surrounded by a blinding brilliance that felt like a pulse within their own hearts. For a moment, everything stood still, the shadows, the voices, even Sarah's pounding thoughts. Whoa! Marcus was the first to break out of the momentary daguerreotype, squinting at the sudden burst of brightness. What is happening? Just hold on. Sarah shouted back, adrenaline fueling her. We need to keep going, don't stop for anything. Suddenly, the world jolted around them, and they were tossed off their feet. The ground trembled as a vibrating hum coursed through the air. Reality warped, distorting time and space as shadows and light melded around them in dizzying display. They struggled, grappling with the ground, panic blooming anew in their chests as the ground beneath them shifted like waves. Fear clawed at them, but they resisted their instinct to flee. The light pulsed, drawing them toward what lay beyond. Then, as abruptly as it started, silence fell. The pressure released, and they landed on solid ground, grass beneath their palms, like earth welcoming them back from a tumultuous storm. Breathless, Sarah shot up. Where are we? As the blinding light faded, they slowly took in their surroundings. They stood in a clearing, eerily still, encircled by the same woods, generically shrouded in night minus the suffocating fog and tormenting shadows. Did we escape? Marcus panted, still catching his breath. Bewildered, the sense of normalcy washed over them. But there was an unsettling cloud lurking at the edges, whispering in the back of their minds. No, Sarah replied, scanning their new surroundings. Something's wrong. Suddenly, a soft echo filled the air, a voice, gentle yet mournful, breaking their moment of relief. You should not have come here, they turned. The light had not truly vanished. It shimmered again at the edge of the clearing, revealing a figure, a woman in a flowing white dress, face obscured, but with a presence that sent chills racing down their spines. Fear pierced through Sarah's initial relief, and she whispered frantically, "What does she mean?" The woman stepped closer, the air around her shimmering like heat-off pavement, as the ground beneath trembled, slightly ominous. You are now part of what lies beyond. She spoke slowly, the words laced with a strange, heavy truth. Marcus reached for Sarah, gripping her arm, eyes darting to the edges of the mysterious grove. What does she want? What does that mean? But before Sarah could answer, both of their phones erupted into chaos, flashing screens and static screeches, tearing through the quiet. An urgency ignited within Sarah. They're not done with us yet. The woman smiled, a glimmer of hope in a darkened world. The choice is yours, to learn the truth or to flee back into the unknown. With the static still crackling and the shadows hanging just out of sight, reality teetered on a knife edge. What truth awaited them, and would they dare to uncover it? Or would the shadows reclaim them? The woman's presence loomed, an ethereal weight that felt heavier than the secrets of the night. Sarah's breath quickened. She felt the pulse of fear and anticipation, as if the air around them had thickened to a syrupy texture. What do you mean, part of what lies beyond? Marcus pressed, unease sharpening his voice. Time bends here, she whispered, her tones soaked in sorrow. You crossed a threshold. Now, the past and future collide. Your choices here will shape your fate. Sarah's stomach twisted. They had thought they escaped, but it seemed fate had other plans. What do we have to do? She asked, a note of desperation creeping into her words. The woman raised a hand. A swirl of light formed around her palm, coalescing into images that danced in front of them, a flickering tableau of lives lost, screams silenced, and shadows hungry for the light. She gestured as if conducting a symphony of despair. "You'll witness what was stolen," she declared, her voice echoing in the clearing. "But be warned, what you see can change everything." "Change what?" Marcus challenged, a nervous edge tinging his words. The grip on Sarah's arm tightened as he glanced nervously at the edges of the clearing, always sensing that darkness tugging at their shoulders. With a sharp, sudden motion, the light flickered, spiraling into a vision. A scene materialized from the shifting shadows. It was a roadside, the same desolate highway they had traveled before, but something was undeniably off. Flickers of pale light hovered above the asphalt, almost inviting them to lean closer. "Is this us?" Sarah whispered, heart racing, as figures emerged from the shadows, ghostly apparitions, flickering like candle flames, wandering lost and forlorn. They were trapped in an eternal loop, their faces twisted in agony. "Yes," the woman confirmed, her voice barely a breath. "Witness your fate if you choose to flee. Each spirit here was once like you, lost, desperate, hoping for salvation." Breathless horror clutched Sarah's chest. "What if we don't run?" she asked, glancing at Marcus, whose expression had turned stormy with uncertainty. "Raise your sword of truth, or fall by the wayside. It is your own courage or cowardice that will seal your fate." At that moment, the echoes of the past seemed to intensify, layering human cries and tortured whispers, blending into a chaotic symphony of despair. Shadows danced faster now, coalescing into swirling masses that almost reached for them. We need to stop this," Marcus shouted, his voice cracking as he stepped back. "This can't be what's next for us." The woman's eyes seemed to sparkle with despair, but the shadows pressed forward, grasping for their ankles, eager to pull them into the depths of their haunting narratives. "Choose now," she implored, "to confront the shadows haunting you, or to let fear consume you." In that split second, their phones erupted again, an urgent warning piercing the air. Static echoed menacingly as the brightness from their screens morphed into the flickering specters, and the figures along the highway turned, fixated on Sarah and Marcus with hollowed eyes, mouths agape in silent screams. "We can't go back," Sarah screamed over the cacophony. "We have to move forward. No, we have to remember why we came," he countered, the tumult in his chest rising like a tidal wave threatening to crash over him. As the shadows surged forth, twisting into grotesque shapes, their choice loomed larger than ever. Would they confront the ghosts of the past or plunge into an unknown future? The air crackled with energy and dread, the weight of fate hung heavy upon them. And then, without warning, the vision shattered around them like glass. The echoes faded, silencing their screams, as dark mist cloaked the clearing. In the sharp stillness, the woman's final words grazed their ears, a promise, a curse, intertwined. "Be cautious, for everything you witness has consequences." With that, the mist surged forward. What awaited them in the darkness? And would they be strong enough to face the consequences of their choice? The mist enveloped them like a cold shroud, muffling the sounds of the world and leaving only the frantic rhythm of Sarah's heartbeat echoing in her ears. She strained to see through the thick haze, every instinct screaming at her to run. But where? The darkness closed in, twisting like a living entity, tugging at her. A shiver ran down her spine, and she felt Marcus's grip tighten on her arm, his warmth anchoring her in the suffocating fear. "Sarah," he whispered, his voice barely piercing the silence. "What do we do?" "I don't know, but we can't let it drag us down." Panic bubbled up inside her, threatening to spill over. They had to fight. With gritted teeth, she remembered the woman's words, the choice laid before them. Right now, it was about confronting their past and finding their way through the haze of despair. We moved forward, together. As if acknowledging their resolve, the mist shifted and swirled, revealing a path that glimmered like sunlight breaking through clouds. Heart pounding, they rushed forward, stepping into the blurred light. Each step felt surreal, the ground pulsing beneath them as if alive, the shadows retreating into the corners of their vision. But the images started flaring again, memories fragmenting in front of them like shattered glass, each piece prickled with nostalgia and regret. Sarah gasped as she recognized the flash of a childhood home, the vibrant walls now dulled by time and loss. She stumbled, recognition turning her heart into lead. "Sarah," Marcus called, his voice pulling her back. He was halted by a vision as well as schoolyard, echoing with laughter that twisted into taunts. Unlike the joyous memories they once shared, these echoes bore cruel reminders of their insecurities. "Wait," she yelled, spinning back to him. "We have to move past this. They're just ghosts of what once was. They're not just memories. They're shackles, Sarah, tied to us." The anguish in his eyes cut deeper than the swirling darkness surrounding them. "No," she shouted, anger igniting within her. "We need to break free." With a surge of determination, she grabbed Marcus's hand. "We remember, but we don't let them define us." The shadows receded slightly, reacting to their unity. They could feel the pull of their past, but it held less power as they took a deep breath together, their intention clear. Out in the distance, a bright light shimmered, like a beacon calling them home. With urgency, stepping in time, they ran toward it, their feet pounding against the earth, their hearts aligning. The figures lingered but grew fainter, the weight of their sorrow lessened by their resolve to embrace their future. But just as they were about to reach the light, the ground shook violently beneath them. The tremors sent them sprawling to the ground, hands reaching desperately for one another. The mist roiled higher, rage and desperation mixed in with anguish as specters screamed, their hollow faces twisted in agony. "Marcus, we can't let them win," Sarah cried, tears streaming down her cheeks, but a spark ignited within her. "We need to show them we're brave, that we're not afraid." With that, Marcus's hand closed over hers, warm and reassuring. Together, they stood tall, facing the ghosts. "We choose light," they yelled, their voices echoing through the darkness. Igniting a fire of defiance, their declaration cut through the haze. The figures reacted, shadows twisting and writhing, caught in a tempest of emotion. They writhed, each specter freezing in the blaze of their combined spirit, unsure whether to flee or fight. And then silence. The mist began to unravel, revealing a swirling vortex of light and dark pulling against each other. Would they hold their ground against the torrent? Would they really step into the light and leave the past behind? Just then, a voice echoed through the unraveling mist, soft yet firm. "Choose wisely, for not all who venture into the light return." Sarah's heart dropped. What awaited them on the other side? What lines would they cross to reclaim their future? The moment hung like a taut string, vibrating with uncertainty. Sarah could feel the weight of the voice's warning settle over them. It seeped into her bones, amplifying every doubt, every unvoiced fear that gnawed at her insides. She glanced at Marcus, searching his eyes for reassurance, but the shadows danced in them, flickering like candle flames in a draft. "Sarah," he breathed, his voice hoarse. "What if we're not ready? What if we lose ourselves in that light?" Her heart raced, not just from fear, but from the overwhelming urge to push forward. "No, we have to trust ourselves. It's the only way we can break free." But even as she said it, an icy tendril of doubt coiled around her resolve. The swirling light ahead pulsated, inviting yet menacing, a siren song calling them closer. Was it truly freedom waiting there, or merely another trap, one more illusion to ensnare them? The specters hung at the edge of the light and dark, their forms flickering like faulty bulbs, watching, waiting. Sarah could feel their hungry eyes piercing through her, sensing her wavering spirit. "Sarah," Marcus said, urgency creeping into his tone. "We can't stay here forever. We have to decide." With every heartbeat, the air thickened, the pressure rising like an impending storm. She remembered the warmth of their shared laughter, the dreams they spun together. They weren't just escaping from the specters, they were also striving to reclaim their lives, their futures. But doubt rippled through her thoughts. Would they find happiness on the other side, or more torment? What ghosts might follow them once they entered the light? Together, right? Marcus squeezed her hand tighter, and that familiar strength coursed through her. They had fought through the darkness, faced the memories threatening to drown them. The very act of standing here, united against the shadows, was proof of their courage. "Why stop now?" "Together," she replied, her voice firming with strength. "We choose light." They stepped closer, hearts pounding in synchronous rhythm. As they neared the vortex, the light played tricks on their senses, vivid flashes of what could be. laughter echoing through hallways, sunlit afternoons, the taste of freedom tinged with hope. Yet shadows loomed behind, whispering half-formed threats, chilling and foreboding. Sarah, a voice cut through the moment, familiar and cruel. It was an echo from the past, a recollection of pain she thought she had embraced. Each syllable resonated with the bitterness of those who had once hurt her. You think you deserve happiness? You're meant to fail. No. She yelled into the abyss, refusing to let the memories take root in her heart. I won't be shackled by you any longer. The ground trembled violently again. The light flickered, chaotic energies swirling. Marcus faced her, desperation in his eyes. What if this is a mistake? What if no? She interrupted, fierce resolve boiling within her. We fought too hard. We're free. They surged forward, hands clasped tightly, drawing on each other's courage. As they crossed the threshold into the light, a tearing sound echoed around them, like fabric being ripped apart. Suddenly, the world shifted, and the warmth enveloped them, even as their past screamed and struggled behind. But as they embraced the luminescence, it felt like stepping into a void. The brightness pulsed and flashed, leading them deeper into an unknown realm where shadows lurked, whispering their names. And then darkness fell. Sarah? Marcus? Are you there? A voice called out, shrouded in the murky uncertainty of their surroundings. In that moment, terror clawed at Sarah's throat, but a flicker of hope battled to the forefront. They were not alone. But who was that? A friend? Foe? Or something far more sinister? Hesitation flickered as she captured Marcus's determined gaze. What now? Were they prepared to confront whatever awaited them in the depths of that infinite darkness? The murk around them thickened, a shroud of fear wrapping tight. Sarah strained her eyes, trying to make out any shapes in the darkness. Who are you? She called, her voice coming out stronger than she felt. The voice responded, almost a whisper, I'm here to guide you, if you dare. Marcus exchanged glances with Sarah, the familiar flicker of apprehension in his eyes. They had leapt into a new realm, leaving the chaotic pulse of the light behind. But this place was even more disorienting. The ground felt uneven, and a creeping chill made the hairs on Sarah's arms stand on end. Guide us where? Marcus asked, voice steady but edged with uncertainty. To confront what lies ahead, the voice answered, but make no mistake, shadows can deceive. You've already awakened them. A shiver shot down Sarah's spine. The word deceive echoed painfully in her mind. They had hoped to escape their past, but what if it now stalked them more closely in this sinister realm? Faint whispers brushed against her ears, ghostly fragments of laughter and cries melting into one another. It felt like echoes of lives lived long before some joyful, others laced with unrelenting sorrow. Each sound tugged at her heart, scraping against raw emotions. Sarah, Marcus's voice broke through the murmur. Those whispers, their memories, aren't they? Our memories. Yes, she replied, shaking her head as if to clear the fog, the essence of everything we tried to escape. The shadows loomed larger, tangible fragments of their past emerging in the faint illumination provided by the spectral light lingering at the edges. Sarah could see flickering images of her childhood, a birthday party filled with laughter, a lonely moment on an empty swing set, the harsh words from a loved one that had clipped her spirit. Stand firm, the voice urged, resonating through the darkness. Confront them, and you may find the path to your freedom. No, I can't. The protests welled up in her throat. Those memories hurt. They're your memories, the voice pressed. Embrace them. Together, Marcus said, clutching her hand again, grounding her. We face this together. Their resolve hardened, and as if in answer, the darkness pulsed angrily around them. Sarah closed her eyes, focusing on the warmth of Marcus's hand, the familiar sense of duty and loyalty they forged through their trial. The memories flashed around them more vividly now, splintering into reality. Sarah thought you were weak, a sneering voice hissed from the shadows, morphing out of the darkness a pale specter with hollow eyes and a twisted expression. You're nothing without pain. No, she yelled defiantly. I'm stronger than you know. The specter laughed, its hollow voice echoing, the sound rippling through her. Strength? Is that what you call this? It gestured at the memories swirling around. With every joy recalled, pain feeds upon you. Marcus stepped in front of her, Protective. You're wrong. We are not our pain. We are more than what you claim. More? The specter sneered. What will you do when it shrouds you again? Suddenly, the memories began to swirl violently, threatening to pull them apart. Sarah felt the daunting weight of the past surge around her, the laughter, the trauma, each moment crashing against her. But in that chaos, a flicker of insight emerged, bright and unyielding. She and Marcus held the power to redefine what those memories meant. I won't let you control me, Sarah shouted, a pulse of energy igniting within her. The shadows trembled, a cacophony of voices rising in a dissonant pitch. It felt like a storm was brewing, ready to erupt. But they had reached the boiling point, and Sarah knew this was defining. With that realization, the specter hissed, recoiling as if struck. You wish to fight me? Fight against your own truth? Exactly. Marcus breathed out, his grip tightening. We're reclaiming it. As their spirits intertwined, a golden glow erupted from within them, illuminating the darkness that had slowly started to loosen its grip. The shadows hissed and retreated, but just as suddenly, a new voice emerged deeper, darker, menacing. Do you really think you can escape? It boomed, sending a chill through the air that stung against their skin. What now? Sarah whispered, heart racing, as the oppressive atmosphere thickened once more. They faced the impending confrontation, knowing they would either emerge transformed or be consumed by what awaited them. But one thing was clear, the true battle was just beginning. The darkness surged, thickening like a wild beast prepared to leap. Sarah felt her heart pounding, each beat a drum of dread. There it was, the deeper voice, reverberating through the abyss. It was the kind of sound that crawled under your skin, unsettling and raw. Do you really think you can escape? It taunted again, a cruel laugh threading through its words. Sarah's breath caught. There was something powerful, ancient in that voice. The ground trembled beneath them, as if even the earth itself knew the weight of truth. She turned to Marcus, searching his eyes for sanity in this madness. This isn't just a confrontation. It's a judgment, she murmured, the edge of panic in her tone. Then we have to show them who we are, Marcus replied, steady as always, even in this menacing gloom. We're not victims anymore, Sarah. We're fighters. Before she could respond, shadows inched closer, their shapes distorting into familiar figures. Memories come to life, her younger self, frightened and small, the person she feared she still was. You think you're different? The specter hissed again, the smirk on its face tightening into a grimace. You're still her, and she is afraid. Flashes of her childhood echoed in the air, urgent and loud. No, Sarah yelled, clenching her fists, trying to push them away. I'm not that scared girl anymore. I've faced my fears. The whispers twisted, rising into a cacophony. Words of doubt wrapped around her like chains. Face it, you'll never be free. You'll always be haunted. Shut up, Marcus shouted, his voice slicing through the menacing chorus. She has fought too hard to let you haunt her now. With that declaration, a surge of determination washed over Sarah, a flicker of hope that ignited like a match in the suffocating dark. She would not let these spirits bind her to the pain of her past. With Marcus at her side, they had already proven their strength. We are defined by our choices, not our past. Sarah's voice rang out, growing more powerful with each word. As if it could break the shackles of her memories, the sharp gasp resonated in the shadows, distracting the malevolent presence momentarily. Choices? It croaked, then laughed a mocking, hissing sound. But what if your choices lead back to this place? What if it's all a trap? Just as the question hung in the air, the shadows coiled and lunged for them. A rush of cold air swept in as spectral hands reached out, clammy and twisted. Sarah ducked instinctively, feeling the chill snatch at her hair. Marcus pulled her closer, shielding her. We have to make it real, he shouted over the growing chaos. Right now, with the power of their voices, they carved through the nightmare. We are more than our fears. We are strong. The darkness simmered, rippling under the weight of their resolve. It thrashed against them like a wounded animal, desperate to reassert control. I won't let you take her, Marcus roared, and with that shout, a light came forth, a blinding wave erupting from their joined hands. Pushing back against the obsidian tendrils, it felt like a tidal wave bursting through a dam. Lights surged through the darkness, illuminating the faces of those haunting them, their pasts colliding with the present while the shadows writhed, hissing and retreating. But then a new image emerged within the brightness. A figure cloaked in shadow, towering and ominous, was watching them. The presence was different, more ancient and powerful than anything they had faced before. "You think this is the end?" it bellowed, voice shaking the very ground. "This is just the beginning." As the brightness began to wash over their fears, doubts clawed at Sarah's mind again. She sensed a looming confrontation that would define them. What path lay ahead? Would they be strong enough to face the ultimate darkness? With their unity still shining in that bleak place, doubt crept in just what kind of darkness awaited them next. She could feel her breath quicken, each intake heavy with a haunting mix of hope and fear. "What are you waiting for?" The deeper voice echoed, swirling around them. "Your journey has just begun," and with that ominous promise hanging in the air, they prepared to step into an even darker chapter of their battle. The ground lurched beneath them, and Sarah's heart raced, hammering against her ribcage as Marcus held her tight. The shadows weren't just lingering anymore. They were coiling around them like serpents, taunting, waiting for any sign of weakness. Together, she breathed, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of whispers. Marcus nodded, determination flashing in his eyes. They had fought through so much already. This wouldn't be the end. Suddenly, the dark figure detached itself from the swirl of shadows, stepping closer, its presence oppressive. "You think you have what it takes," it boomed. "You can't escape me. I am your darkest fears. I am what you fear you truly are." "No," Sarah shouted. "We're not afraid of you. You don't define us." As those words left her lips, she felt a swell of courage build within. Each fear she had faced alongside Marcus surged to the forefront, igniting a fire that flickered in the depths of her gut. She gripped Marcus's hand tighter. "You are not who you think you are," she declared, voice strong and unwavering. The shadows recoiled slightly, as if the truth cut through their darkness, revealing something fragile yet powerful beneath. The figure raged, reducing the space around them to a thrum of chaos. "You think mere words can save you? They don't need to save us," Marcus shouted, stepping slightly forward, bold defiance in his stance. "We've grown beyond you." With that declaration, Sarah and Marcus surged forward, their footprints echoing in the void. The darkness writhed and twisted around them, yet they pressed on, the warmth of their shared courage burning brighter. "Remember who you are?" came the ethereal voice from the shadows, catching Sarah's ears like a vice. But they were ready now. "We know who we are," they yelled together. The light within them swelled, brightening, pushing against the dark. In a moment that felt like both eternity and an instant, the dark figure lunged. They braced themselves, unable to escape the tide of shadows pushing against their will. "Let go," Sarah shouted, as memories rushed around them, the haunted school, the suffocating loneliness, the laughter turned cruel. "Those are just memories." Marcus stared fiercely back at the dark figure. "This will not be a place of torment," he roared, and with every ounce of strength, they fought back against the erosion of their resolve. The shadows quivered, their forms shifting erratically under the force of the combined will. "You think this is merely memory?" The figure howled, its voice reverberating like thunder. "You have no understanding. Do you think you can simply walk away? You are bound to me. We are free," Sarah screamed, her voice rising above the chaos like a beacon. And at that moment, she allowed herself to feel every fragment of pain, loss, joy, and triumph that had shaped her life. As she embraced all of it, illumination exploded within, flooding the suffocating darkness. Light surged through her veins, igniting the shadows around them until they shrieked, a banshee wail echoing in the void. Together, they held on to this new truth: the darkness wasn't them. It was something to be embraced but never feared. "Look," Marcus shouted, eyes alight. Together, they faced the shadows with unwavering determination. "We choose our destiny. We choose life and love." As their voices intermingled with the radiant glow, the darkness began to peel away. Flickers of lost memories darted with a sudden urgency. The sinister whispers transformed into echoes of gratitude, swirling around them as if the shadows were recognizing their strength. Sarah could feel the warmth enveloping her, lifting her higher as the darker figure wailed in anguish, losing grip on the last remnants of power it held. You will regret this. It screeched, but its voice diminished under the weight of truth and light. You will never be free. Yet, they were already breaking free. Walls of fear crumbled, and with each passing breath, they tore down the last of the shadows, tethering them to their pasts. The air shimmered, wrapping around them with warmth, like the embrace of a long-lost friend. Are we really leaving? Sarah asked, a spark of hope igniting in her chest. Yes, Marcus said, eyes bright with conviction. But we need to carry our memories. Those can guide us, not shackle us. As they stood on the threshold of the light, hand in hand, ready to step into a future unfettered by the echoes of what once was, they took one last look at the fading darkness. Thank you for teaching me to be brave, Sarah whispered into the twilight, letting gratitude wash over her. Then, they stepped through the light, leaving behind the shadows and the echoes. The world around them erupted into vibrant colors, the cacophony of darkness traded for the symphony of new beginnings. Fresh air filled their lungs, their breath a testament to their struggle. As the echoes of the past melted into the reality of present, they found themselves at the side of the very road they had driven moments before. The moon hung high above, casting silver light against a clear sky, and as they walked away from the haunted stretch of highway, the weight of it, the memory of what they had faced, became not a burden, but a treasure. I can't believe we did it, Sarah said, laughter bursting forth. We really broke through. Marcus smiled, the shadows of doubt finally lifting. We're free now, Sarah? We faced our darkness and found our light. And under the shimmering stars, they embraced the knowledge that they had conquered the shadows and reclaimed their lives, stepping fully into the future, hand in hand. Now that you've experienced the thrilling conclusion to Sarah and Marcus's journey, don't wait. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories we're bringing your way. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm. We want everyone to share in this exciting community. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this phenomenal ending. And please, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is everything.